Galsky with California SBDC is joining us here today, and we'll be presenting on how to actually communicate with your lender and make sure that you get this access to capital. So this is part of a bi-monthly national webinar series sponsored by Sam's Club. And we'll be presenting this information every other Wednesday at 2 o'clock Eastern. So if you have someone else that you feel needs to get on to this webinar, feel free to send them out a link to an upcoming webinar date. We like to have a lot of co-presenters come on and provide really quality information, so it's good for you to always come back as well. Today, Scott's going to be presenting the bulk of our presentation just because his information is going to be so valuable to you as a business owner. So we're going to fly through my portion. Like I said, you can access this full presentation as in an hour-long format on our YouTube channel, or you can come back and join us for another week when we don't have a co-presenter and get the full presentation as well. Please do feel free to put questions in the chat box in the right-hand corner of your screen, and we will answer those at the end of the webinar. Really love to make sure that we're fulfilling why you're here today. So if you come across questions, please put those in there and we'll get those out. You'll also get after this webinar a link to a survey. We ask that you do take that out. We are grant funded, and so we have requirements that we have to report back to our grant funder. So if you could do us that favor and just let us know how we did today and how we can improve in the future, we would greatly appreciate that. So to get started, I'll tell you a little bit about Small Business Majority because you may not be familiar with us. We are a small business education and advocacy-based organization. We've been around for 11 years, and we are national. So we have offices in all of the states there that you can see. Some of those states have multiple offices. I'm here in Missouri. We actually have 2 offices in Missouri. I'm in Springfield, Missouri, which I'm sure all of you have been trying to visit recently because it's just so beautiful. And then we have an office in St. Louis, Missouri. And we have offices there in DC. That's really our advocacy arm so that we can be directly there impacting legislators and getting the small business voice to them. And then California is where our headquarters are, just right outside of San Francisco. We do try to focus on issues of top importance to small business. We do a lot of independent, extensive research. We do focus groups. We do pollings. We do oversampling in certain states. And then we sort of try to find the gaps in resources that small businesses say they need assistance with. And then we work to find funding to help bring that to you. So that is a little bit about Small Business Majority and our goal. We have a network nationwide, like I said, both with the media, lawmakers, and with small business owners and business organization groups that we partner with. So our goal is really to bring the resources to you as a small business owner so that you are familiar with them and can access them. So that really takes us into why we have been doing this presentation. This presentation on access to capital came from our polling. And our scientific polling said that 90% of small businesses said the availability of credit is a problem for them. And I'm sure you know that there's a reason that all of you are here today. And so this probably isn't news for you. But we're going to really try to focus on how to increase your ability to access that capital as a business owner. Some of you may be starting up a new business, and so I know Scott's really going to get into some opportunities for startups and how to make sure and get that really difficult to find capital sometimes out there. So we also really try to focus on women and minority-owned firms because they do face different barriers than the typical business, a lot of times smaller in size and start with less capital. So we won't really go into a lot of detail on this today, but we do often present on women, specifically women's access to capital and minority access to capital and some resources that are available for them through funneled capital that are out there at some of the organizations that we work with. So one of the things that we're just going to throw out there right now, you know, we talk about that the recession, the Great Recession really decreased the bank lending that came out, which is traditionally where small businesses have went to access capital. But luckily for us, there are more options than ever before that are going to help you start and grow your business. These are just a few of the options that are out there. And we're obviously not going to talk about all of these today just based on time, but we're going to really focus more so on that last column because those seem to be the newer ones, especially the online lenders, and then some of the other things that are available, especially CDFIs. Want to make sure that you're aware of those and your SBDC programs and things like that and how to utilize those resources. So I'm actually going to pretty much skip this slide right here because Scott's going to discuss this later, and as he works directly with the lenders, I want you to hear it from him. That's one of the benefits of having these partners on here is that they often are working directly in this field and helping connect businesses to lenders so they really know how to focus on those questions. So when you get this slide deck, you'll have the questions there, but you're also going to get them in Scott's slide deck as well. So we'll skip right there and get right into some of our resources that are available for you as a small business owner. So I work here in Springfield, Missouri, and we have a CDFI here based out of St. Louis that covers statewide. What I'm finding out is that business owners really are not familiar with CDFIs, and if you're not, then you really need to become familiar with the one that's in your area because they provide some really great resources that are available for you, as well as some unique and very specialized programs for small businesses, especially revolving around building credit and helping you as a business owner build your credit not only as an individual, which is, as we know, is very important and intermingled with your business credit, but also as on the business side. So CDFIs offer loans. Sometimes you'll find a CDFI that goes up to $250,000. I know here in Missouri, the cap is $50,000 on their loan process, so it's really dependent on the CDFI. But they are really targeting entrepreneurs and startups and business owners who are not eligible for the traditional bank loan. They also have a really wide variety of business loans available, and they can be used for a really wide range of purposes. They typically try to work with underserved entrepreneurs and low-income funding and low-income community. And they are funneled in. They have geographic areas that they're specifically working in. I know here in Missouri, Justine Peterson just came into Springfield. They just have funding that is allocated for the Springfield area. So talk to your CDFI. They may not have funding in your area right now, but they might in the future. So find out which one is closer to you. And here on this next slide, you can see a lender locator map. So Opportunity Finance Network is a really great resource, and we'll talk about them here. Just note that venturize.org website down there because that's a really great tool for you as well if you're looking for CDFIs, but also to help find what kind of lending is really good for you. Some of the pros and cons of CDFIs, they are very competitive. They have really good interest rates because they are they're backed by SBA. And they also work in collaboration largely with the SBTDCs and small business development centers and things like that. So Small Business Administration backs them. They do offer additional support. Scott does the same kind of thing at the SBDC where he works there in California. And so he's going to talk about that a lot. A lot of what he does mirrors what the CDFIs do. So you have multiple resources that you can utilize as a business owner. And CDFIs are normally free in order to do that, as well as SBDCs most of the time. Some of them charge. You just have to talk to your local one and find out. Okay, so the U.S. SBA, Small Business Administration, does have a lot of leverage when it comes to providing loans. They work as a lender, not as a lender, but as a guarantor. So they work directly with banks. They work with traditional banks and with small banks. And they basically say, this person has went through the rigmarole of filling out all this paperwork. They fit our criteria. We're going to back them as a business owner. SBA really does work really diligently to work with startups, and they have a lot of specialized funding to work with like veterans in the military, disaster relief, and some of the smaller microloans. So they also do working capital, which you don't find everywhere, and that's really nice to be able to have some of that additional money that you can just sort of sit in the bank and use as you maybe want to add staff or have payroll costs paid for the year up. So this is a longer process to get on this, but they do have really competitive rates, longer loan terms, so your monthly payment might be a little bit lower, and that's really important if you're starting out or trying to get off the ground. So you can see down there at the bottom how to find an SBA approved lender near you, and then some of the really important resource partners. SCORE is great. It's a mentor network, and they connect you with someone who can help you with a targeted issue. So if it's marketing or accounting, they'll find someone to really connect you, and they will assist you with that specific issue. Women's business centers, obviously focused on women, and then we have small business development centers. And like I said, that's what my co-presenter is from today, and so he's really going to talk to you about what SBDCs do. Community banks and credit unions are a really great resource for you as a small business. Just know that community banks really do focus on providing small business lending, mainly because they are very community focused. And so they know that the small business is the backbone of the economy in a small local community. And so they are really, really focused on working with their small businesses. I recently talked to a SCORE mentor from a very small community near Springfield, and he said he was the Chamber of Commerce director for about 20 years. And he said they had ties directly to their community banks, and that was where they referred people for small business loans. They often have very, very low interest rates and long loan terms, but sometimes they're going to have a little bit longer of an application time, more like the SBA, not quite as long as SBA, and they may have some higher hurdles that you need to jump through in order to obtain the credit. So maybe they need collateral, or maybe you're going to need to be in business for 2+ years. Startups still are going to have a little bit difficulty obtaining funding through this resource, so definitely look at some of the prior ones that we talked about. Alternative lenders, online lending is an entirely new field, and so therefore the regulations have not really caught up. One reason is because just like with the internet, it changes very, very rapidly. And so you really need to proceed with caution, but there is definitely some really wonderful opportunities available for small business in a whole different world of capital out there. So you can still get fixed, term loans. You can get multi-year terms. You can get the regular APRs. You just really, when you're talking to them, focus on transparency and the process. Online cash flow lenders, these are things like On Deck or Cabbage. They do targeted marketing, and they offer short-term loans. So you're going to have a really high interest rate, and it's going to happen where they make, a lot of times it'll be daily deductions. When you're looking at working with an online cash flow lender, you really need to make sure that you have your cash flow set up and you're aware of how much money you have coming in. Make sure that you talk to them about what their interest rates are, if there are any payoff early fees, and things like that. The good thing about, by the way, of online cash flow lenders, just go back to that slide real quick, is that these lenders, typically you can actually get funding within 24 to 48 hours. So it's a really quick turnaround time. So if you have a piece of machinery break down, or if you have a large order come in for a T-shirt that you're designing and you need $20,000 right now, not in 2 months from now, then this is an option for you, but you just have to be very cautious about the payback structure. All right, merchant cash advances. These are your payday loans for business. So basically, they take a percentage of your credit card sales for every day that you're open. So if you're open Saturday through Sunday, 7 days a week, they're going to take a percentage of your loan plus a premium until it's paid back. They're going to have very high rates, and it's quick and unsecured. So this is something that there's a reason they're here, there's a reason that they're available, and that's because sometimes as a business owner you have to have money now. That being said, just make sure that you are really comfortable with being able to pay that back every day. If you make $500 in credit card sales one day and say they take 50%, then or 10%, you're going to pay back $50. But if you make $5,000, they're going to take $500 from that day. So just really be cautious and make sure you're comfortable with the terms and utilize this as an absolute last resort. These are often ones you're going to see fast cash, no credit score, no collateral needed. Just know that there are options like the CDFIs that also can help you with these exact same keywords but without the danger that comes along with it. Once you've established with some of these other things, it doesn't take as long to get those loans go through. So you really have other options, and this should be your last resort. Crowdfunding is places like Kickstarter or Indiegogo. This has been great for people starting up who haven't been able to access capital through a traditional source. And it's really fun because you get to develop a campaign, you put your platform out there, and then you get funded by people all over the world who think that what you're doing is neat or cool, and they want to be a part of it. The best campaigns do inspire people to donate. So if you're thinking about setting up a crowdfunding site, you want to do a lot of research. You want to research the ones that are doing well and find out, like, why are people donating to this specific request and this campaign, and then look at some of the ones that aren't doing as well. And then don't copy that one. Copy the one, of course, that is people are donating to. Maybe they have 500 donors, and 500 donors at $5 each, you're getting started. So decide how you're going to set that up and just really do your research on that. Okay, so I'm going to skip that slide, and then we're going to talk just very quickly about the Business Borrower's Bill of Rights. This is something that Small Business Majority developed last year alongside lenders from across the country. And you'll see a list of those lenders, but really what this does is we got together with the lenders and we said small business owners need to know that when they go talk to a lender that they're being treated right. And so we put together the Borrower's Bill of Rights, the BBOR, and this basically is where lenders can come sign on to this and say, we agree to abide by these 6 guiding principles. So if you go onto our website, there at the bottom, responsiblebusinesslending.org, you can find lenders maybe near you or that are national that have signed on to this. And you can also take this to a lender that you're working with and ask them if they agree to abide by those, if they would sign on, or utilize this as a guide to make sure you find the correct lender for you. You can go onto that website there and get more details on what all of these are, and I encourage you to do that because really just looking at the 6 principles written there, it doesn't give you a clear picture. Normally I go into that a little more detail, but like I said, we really want to get into Scott's presentation because that's the meat and bones of what you're going to be able to take out of here today to benefit you and make a direct impact. So go check that out. We have a checklist on there as well that you can download and print off, take with you as you are meeting with a lender at a bank or talking to an online lender over the phone. Have that checklist in front of you and then go down it and ask these questions. Make sure that you fully understand the loan that you're getting and that they are going to be transparent. Scott's going to talk a lot about assessing your business financial situation. So that's something that you need to think about really as well. There's a lot of questions that go into this, as I'm sure you're aware. So these are the members of the Responsible Business Lending Coalition that developed the BBOR. Hopefully you see someone there that's close to you. And if not, go online and see if those lenders that are close to you are there as well. These are just the ones that actually helped develop it, so they have all signed on. Now, if you are still trying to figure out what kind of lending options are right for you, these 4 websites here are really great opportunities for you to go on and do comparison shopping. So they sort of act like a Priceline.com or a Kayak, where you go in, you put in what you need, how much you need, how quickly you need it, what your credit is, and then, or just a different variety of answers, and then you hit OK, and it pulls up all the different options that are available for you. I presented with OFN, Opportunity Finance Network, during National Small Business Week, and they actually are the ones that created Venturize. It's brand new, and I went and checked it out, and it is just a really phenomenal tool. If you're working with a CDFI, or if you're working with an SBDC or SBDC, have them sit down with you and go through that, because, or SBA, that's part of the resources that they provide to small business owners. So have them go through these. Any of these 4 here have been vetted by us and would be really great resources for you. We'd love to have you get involved with us at Small Business Majority. We're on Facebook and Twitter. There's my direct contact information, and like I said, you will get that in the PDF that goes out afterwards. Feel free to sign up for our monthly newsletter. We do a lot of stuff in person, so if you are near one of our local offices, contact your local SBM representative and see what they have going on there as well. We love to hear from our people on the ground. If you're near me, please contact me and let me know you're here. There's our website and our Access to Capital resource portal. We do a variety of topics, not just access to capital. So if you go onto that portal, you can actually get resources on a huge variety of topics. Workplace wellness, retirement security, a lot of things like that. So let us know what we can do for you. I see that we have questions coming in. Please continue to put questions in there. We will answer those at the end of the Scott's presentation. But with that, I am going to turn this over to Scott. Scott is with the California SBDC. He is an expert, absolute expert at working with small business and within the lending field. So Scott, I'm just going to let you take this over and enlighten us all today. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Mary. Great presentation, and I guess good morning to some and good afternoon to others, depending on where you are in the country. My name is Scott Rogowski from Small Business Development Centers throughout the state of California, and we love partnerships with Small Business Majority to bring these great resources to you and partner together. So going into the presentation today, some of you may not know about Small Business Development Centers. Very similar to Small Business Majority, we're a national organization. I just put stats on here for the state of California, but we have 950 centers across the country. We have 63 state regions. So in the state of California, we have 6 state regions because it's a large state, so we broke it up. We have 43 centers in the state of California. But across the country, we have about somewhere around 10,000 consultants throughout the country available to help you for anything that you may need for one-on-one technical assistance around starting a business, growing a business, human resources, marketing, government contracting, licensing. So whatever you would need to help start or expand your business, we're here to help small businesses. I just have a quick quick snapshot on this circle you see here. We have a couple different focuses. One of the focuses that we have, so we're a federally funded small business administration program throughout the country. And that's how we get partial money from them and partial money from banks and in-kind donations. And that's how we are allowed to provide these great services to small businesses and medium-sized businesses. And SBA gives us goals, and we have to help meet these certain economic impacts with businesses, and that is through capital infusion, technology, business starts, and then growth strategies around hiring jobs and creating more sales. So these are some of our performance measurements that we had last year in 2016. We did about 100,000 hours worth of consulting. We helped around 1,200 businesses start, created a good amount of jobs, and then we helped businesses access about $800 million in capital infusion. So that means that we didn't lend the money out, but we did all the technical services and helped match make to lenders, help put the financial packages together, help with the business plan and projections, and that's the services that we provide. I just have some success stories here. We have plenty and several success stories throughout each center, each state, and then each region. You can see that we helped with create jobs on the left. We helped access capital in the middle of 500,000, and then we helped the gentleman on the right with increasing his sales. So we track all of our economic impact that we do with small businesses, whether we helped you increase your sales, create new jobs, retain jobs. We helped you sell your business, buy a business. We track all economic developments so that we know how to better serve our clients. So going into the meat of the presentation from the content that I'm going to share that Mary spoke so highly of, I thank her for that. And so this is the technical assistance that we do for clients. This is all around access to capital per this webinar. And this is how we work with lenders to help you. So Mary went over all the plethora of different lenders out there. There's banks, non-banks, credit unions, micro lenders, there's some hard money lenders, some merchant card advance. So we primarily work with banks, CDFIs, credit unions, community banks, and we help them with their turn down packages. So if you go to a bank, you get declined, they send it to us, we help you repackage it, send it back, or kind of restructure it and go to another lending institution that can help you finance it. If you somehow didn't know how to put together your income statement or balance sheet, which a lot of business owners, they don't specialize in that, and you submitted it and it was wrong, then the bank can contact us, say, hey, Scott, can you help us with this income statement, help the business owner understand it. We can fix their troubled packages with that. A lot of, Mary went over this a little bit, that's a lot of banks and credit unions they still struggle with financing startups because of the risk that it comes with. So we help coach their startups. We help to put your loan packages together. Bankers don't get paid to put your financials together. The SBDCs are consultants that are all 1099 consultants. We get paid from the federal government to help you do those services for that to get your loan. The banks don't get paid to do that. And it's a conflict of interest for them to do that as well. We also help you with letter of explanation. If you do have some credit blemishes, we can help you work through that, write the quick letter to explain to the bank and lender, so they know exactly what's going on with your credit. So to get the funding, I just kind of broke it down real quick. So you'll meet with an SBDC consultant to become a client. It's complimentary. It's all prepaid tax dollars through the federal government. We sit down with you. It's all confidential, one-on-one. We talk about your product or your service. We find out your history, and then we help you pitch your story best to the lender for you. We sit down with you to review your financials, and then the financials are there. And then the process to access capital is it's as you notice, all lenders, if you try to get capital, or all resources organizations kind of look at it all in a different way. But there's the meat and the heart of each loan that what it takes to get the loan, and to, number one, request it, and then number two, to actually get it in hand, the money. So this is our 4 key targets on how we ensure capital for businesses. And the way we do that is through a strategic plan, whether it be a pitch deck or a 3 to 5 page business plan. We're not currently writing a lot of 15, 20 page business plans anymore, because banks and lenders don't really look through that. So we kind of condense it to the most best information that we could put on there and really explain why this product, and why now. We also look at what the lenders and investors need to know from you, so that kind of saves time, kind of hold yourself accountable before you come and talk. And then we help you put your financial loan package together, because that's not something that business owners technically specialize in. And then we help you look at alternative forms of capital, because like Mary mentioned, banks and credit unions may not be the best resource for you to get funding. There's other options out there. So depending on your industry and the technology you bring to the table for that, or the intricacies within your business model, it may be best for you to have a pitch deck, which would be like a PowerPoint like we're going through today, like about 10 slides as to who you are, what you're selling, why are people going to buy it from you, your competitors, and then what's your ask, how much money do you want. So it might be best for you to have a pitch deck for your business plan, or it might be best for you to have a full-on 3 to 5 page business plan. But essentially each bullet point on here would be a slide in the pitch deck, and we help you walk through that and get that going for you. So Mary also mentioned that it's very tough to get financing for startups. Maybe some of you on the phone have experienced that, and maybe your bank declined you, and maybe you feel a little left out, that maybe since your bank declined you, now you can't get financing elsewhere. But that's not the case. It's just that that bank at that time doesn't want to fund you or your industry or your data metrics that you have. Well, there's a couple myths out there that lending institutions are too strict, for brand new companies, and then also that SBA funds loans and declines them all the time. We hear from business owners that go to banks that say, hey, I went to go to my bank, they said that I got declined for an SBA loan, and that's not the case. SBA doesn't decline loans. They guarantee the loan, so that if you don't pay it back for some reason, then the SBA will pay the bank and help them with that risk. They don't approve loans or decline loans. The bank does, and then SBA says, okay, since you approved it, we'll guarantee it for you and make it less risky. They don't fund the loans, they just guarantee them. So there are some truths out there. So banks are more lenient when they partner with, so when we partner with them, when Small Business Majority partners with them, and other resources that we bring to the table, it has some sort of validity that your package or your financials have been looked at, and that they've been signed off by SBDC consultants. And there are some good entrepreneur space lending out there, and we can help you with that. So if you can't get a bank loan, you've been declined a few times and you just don't meet the requirements, there are some options for non-bank qualified. I super condensed this slide because Mary went over a lot of it, and all the options that are out there. So you can do credit card financing, so that's different than merchant card advance. Credit card financing would be using your credit cards to finance your business. Most business owners, if they can't get financing from a bank or a lending institution, they're not able to find it or make it work. They usually go to 401ks and credit cards, and sometimes that's the best way to move forward without taking out a crazy merchant card advance loan or a crazy online lender loan. But and then with proper advice and proper guidance from the SBDC, we can help you refinance that credit card financing after 9 months to 12 months, and then also help you kind of replenish your 401k in retirement. So if you do business to business and business to government, you can do invoice financing. It's very popular, also called factoring. It's an option, a short-term option. I wouldn't recommend it too long because it costs too much. And then you can also do a collateral-based loan or cash injection. So if you have some equity in your commercial real estate or your house, if you have some equity in cars or equipment, or equity in your 401k, that's called collateral. It's all your assets, what you own. You can bring that to the table and use it as a basis for your loan. So I have some slides in here. We're not going to go over every key point in here because it's a lot of information. So if you're you're not sure if you want to give up part ownership of your company, which would be called equity financing, or if you want to give up, or you just want to do debt financing, just put it on your personal credit, your personal guarantee. This slide kind of goes back and forth. It has the categories on the left. So it talks about the types of financing, the collateral that's needed. For debt financing, most banks and lenders want some sort of collateral, like a personal guarantee or a home or a car or equipment. But on equity financing, their collateral is actually ownership percentage of your company. A lot of young entrepreneurs that are eager to start their business, they want to give up equity right away because they think it's the only way they're going to get financing, and that's not the case. There are other options. And a personal recommendation, if you're going to give up ownership, I'd recommend to give up anything less than 20% because 20% or more has to hold, they have to hold part ownership of your company, and they also have to do a personal guarantee if you try to go get funding later. But if you look on here, traditional debt financing takes about 30 to 90 days to get in hand. Equity financing could take up to 180 days. So it kind of talks about what's important on this slide. Outside of debt and equity, I also talked about leveraging invoices. So that's that factoring invoice. So if you do business with the government and it takes them 90 days to pay you, and you want to get an advance on that payment, you can do factoring or accounts receivable financing. If you have an old 401k or retirement fund or 403b and you retired and now you want to jump into starting a business, you can use that and it's tax-free and you don't have to pay it back, and there's not a lot of, it doesn't cost a lot to do that. So there's also options for that too that a lot of people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s that are using that money right now, that are some of the baby boomers are retiring and now they want to go into what they're really passionate about. So they're using their retirement funds to fund their business and use it as operating cash. And there's ways to do that where there's not a lot of taxes. So there's some great options out there. So this is what Mary was talking about. She had this slide too, and it's all the same. Everybody wants to know, what does a bank or a lender want from you to, what do you need to know going into it so that you can expect everything, what's on the table, there's nothing hidden. You need to ask yourself these questions and sit at home and kind of fill this out. And before I meet with any client, I actually send this out to them and see if they have some validity and they're legitimate about what they're really trying to do and does it make sense. Sometimes SBA will get a call and they'll say, a customer will say, hey, I want to get some money. And they go, wow, okay, how much money do you want? They said, I don't know, whatever you can get me, I don't know. So unfortunately, that's not the best way to approach it. You need to know, how much money you need, what you're going to use it for, and I have a slide for that. It's really, really important to know your credit report story. So if you have a 750, you never had any blemishes, then you don't really have a credit story. You're just excellent on your credit. But if you had a bankruptcy, short sale, foreclosure, you need to explain all that. You also need to know what kind of collateral you have and then how you're going to be able to pay back the loan. These are great questions for you to know. And if you've been turned down, by a lender, it's really good to know why you got turned down, because you can take that to another lender and you let's see. Are you guys having trouble hearing me? Let's see here. Okay. I'll try to. Looks like there might be back and forth. I'll try to talk a little bit slower and see if it helps out. All right, so becoming loan ready, what lenders look for in a loan applicant, there's really three things that all lenders look for, and if you don't have those three things, it's really hard to get capital. So we kind of go over that. Really important for you to know your credit score, where to get it. There's lots of great free resources you can look at to get it, like creditkarma.com or annual credit report, where that you could look at it. It's really good for you to know that up front, to know your credit rap sheet. Packaging your loan and knowing exactly what goes in that package is important. So here's the 3 C's of approval. I didn't go over it, but my background is in banking. I know you guys saw that a little bit on my bio. But I was a banker for 12 years, and then I got tired of saying no to business owners, so I quit, came over to the nonprofit consulting space to help business owners and tell them what the banks don't tell them, and or that I feel that they hide from them. So this is the 3 things that you need to know, and we help you do this for you to help you pitch your loan. But we look at cash flow. So can you afford the loan currently, or with your new business or your existing business? What's on your credit? Do you really know what's really on your credit, and how can you explain it? Because before 2008, before we had the country crunch for real estate, national average credit scores were around 680, 700. Not very many people had short sales foreclosures, bankruptcies. So it was real easy to get credit, and you didn't have to really try too hard. But now there are some people that have credit blemishes, and you need to explain it. So some lenders won't do a bankruptcy if it hasn't been 5 years, some 7, some 10, some even 2 or 3, so you just have to find it. And then what collateral do you have to secure for your loan if needed? So this is a slide about education score versus story. So it's great that you have a 700, but do you have any blemishes? Because some people that have 700 credit scores had a bankruptcy last year, and they were just able to rebuild it somehow super fast. So we just kind of need to know about your blemishes. So we help you with that. This explains what blemishes are. So this is some of the templates and the way that we hold your hand and walk you through this process before we bring you to a lender, so you know exactly what's expected of you. This is kind of what Mary was talking about. So really good to know. Really good to know what exactly the money is used for. And this explains it. So the item that you need, the detail of it, how much, and then the proof that you can provide for that. So this person wants to buy a Subway franchise. They need about $305,000, and this explains it. This is what the bank is looking for. All lenders need to know this. They want to know kind of exactly what you spent the money on. The next slide, to see if you can afford a business loan. So this is cash flow. This comes down to cash flow, cash flow, cash flow. A lot of lenders and business consultants and coaches will say that cash is king. If the cash doesn't flow, the loan doesn't go. One of my mentors told me that. But for this scenario, if you were to sit at home and say, hey, can I afford a business loan with my current, if I could afford a business loan with my current income and my current debt, is that possible with the added of the business loan? So lenders look at global cash flow, not just your business cash flow, but your global. So your personal debts, your business debts, your personal income, your business income. So if you were to look at banks and lenders for your debts, they only ask you for your they only look at your top debt payments on here that they add up. It's not like when you go and buy a home and they add up all your expenses. For business lending, it's just all your debts, personal debts, business debts. Does your business pay your debts? This example is for actually a startup. You can do this at home, and with this, this person makes $4,125 as an example. With a new business loan, it's $3,300. It's a 1 to 1.25 ratio. If you take 4,125 divided by 3,300, and what that means is that most banks look at a 1.25 to 1 ratio. Some lenders will do a 1 to 1, some will do a 0.8 to 1. Just have to figure out the lender best for you. So these are all templates that we help you walk through before we take you to a lender. This one is the financials that are needed to, and Mary kind of has this with her checklist, but these are the financials that are needed when you go and apply for a loan, and you go through the process. After you apply, they're going to ask you for all these financials. And like I mentioned earlier, the banker doesn't get paid to do it for you, but we do. So banks send us deals all the time, say, hey, can you help my client with this? Can you help my client with that? And that's what we really specialize in. So on the existing business side, just like if you're going to buy a home loan, you would need all this stuff. your personal financial statement, which I have a template that shows you what that is. And then if you're going to start a new business, these are all the items that you need. If you're going to buy a business, you're gonna combine the two together because you're going to need the old financials of the existing business and the new financials of what you're going to be bringing to the table for the as the new owner. And then for the personal financial statement, so this is a very condensed version of what you'll see online. Some CPAs charge their clients to put this together, also known as a financial statement, like a business financial statement. But this is, you can go to SBA.gov and type in Form 413. And if you do that, you can see the real version that banks want. But if you wanted to do this quick and dirty at home, you want to figure out, hey, do I have net worth and collateral that a bank will take for me to do this loan? And if I don't, how am I going to mitigate that risk for them? So if you were to, on your left, you see what you own. Those are your assets. In the middle, what you owe, and then the difference is your net worth. So you just go from left to right, and you minus it. So on this person has $50,000 in equity in their house. So if you add up all the negatives and positives, then this person's net worth is $50,000. The bank may say, hey, we want to take your home as collateral because you have some equity. So that's what the net worth and personal financial statement is all about. And then projections are very important, especially for a startup. And the projections have to be very realistic to your industry. And you have to know your numbers. On the bottom right is the most important one, know your numbers. And what that means is if you're going to open a restaurant and your net profits are 20%, and that's what you're projecting, but most restaurants are between 3 and 7%, then why are you 20%? Do you not know what you're talking about? Do you get free food somehow or free labor? So you really need to know your numbers and know your industry standards. And we help you with that. There's some great tools and resources that we have for that. This is obviously a very highly condensed version of a projection sheet that we work with our clients on, that we help them through. It's all done on Excel. It's pretty easy, but we hold your hand and walk you through it. And then my last slide is this is what it really comes down to. So after we ask you those 7 questions, kind of get a pulse of where you're at. Can you pay back the loan? Do you have collateral? What's your credit story? And we walk through these templates, these 5 templates, kind of put it all together. We're essentially pre-qualifying you and pre-underwriting you for a loan before you go and waste all your time at a bank and a lender and they say no, or they come back 2 months later and say no, or they just decline you right away because they don't like that you don't own your house. But there's ways to mitigate that, and if you pitch it the right way, that's what we value all of our relationships with our business owners on, and how we really help them pitch their loan request to a lender or to a banker. And if the lender needs projections, we help them with projections, help them with business plan. But it comes down to these 3 things, and that's cash flow. Do you have a lot of cash flow, a little cash flow? How are you going to mitigate that? And we help you with that. We help you figure out what's on your credit credit report, and then what collateral you may or may not have. So some lenders really want a house as collateral. Some lenders don't care for a house as collateral. So kind of knowing the difference between that. And then if you don't have any of those 3, maybe you have some connections. There's some great veteran loans out there. If your spouse or your business partner is a veteran, there's some great loans out there. If you have a business partner you can bring on, or a venture capitalist or something like that, that's the other connections part of it, and we kind of help you figure that out as well. But that's my presentation. I really appreciate you taking the time to jump on the call today with Mary and I. And it looks like we have some questions here, so we'll get to that. And thank you very much.
Scott, thank you so much. That is phenomenal information. My husband and I are business owners, and so as I listen to you speak, I definitely am looking at it from not only the business organization, nonprofit side of how I can promote this to businesses, but also how beneficial this information is to me as we go forward with growing our business. So really appreciate you taking the time today to spend with us. Just so you are aware, Scott and I did figure out before this webinar today, we're actually going to have Scott back on with us at the end of June. So he will be going over this information again and making sure that we're able to get that out there. So if you want to send that information out to your network and to the other business owners that you know in your area, let them know. We're also going to have a CDFI on with us on June 14th. So keep an eye out for that. All right, so let's get into the questions because we did have quite a few come through. We've got about 7 minutes left. And so we're going to dive right in. So for Scott, I think that a lot of these are really going to come through to you because you are definitely the expert on this. Would you like to talk about equity or unsecured capital for working capital?
Yes. So for so equity financing, you really need to know if you're an existing business owner, you really need to know how much equity you want to give up and how much you have to give up. If you're a startup, really important to find out how much equity you want to give up and what that is valued at, and that's a really hard calculation to do. We can help you with that. We have some people that specialize in business valuations, but I would really ask yourself: do you really need to give up part equity of your company? Or can you do it through other means of financing? And the unsecured capital for working capital. So it's sometimes it's really hard to get lines of credits for it's almost impossible for a startup unless you do it on the personal side. It's hard as a brand new business to get a line of credit, unsecured line of credit, not secured to a house or a car or something like that. Most of the time you can do that through your personal credit, through personal credit cards, personal lines of credits. If you're in business and you're looking for unsecured capital, working capital, that's also hard to get as a line of credit. You can do it. Usually most lenders only do that up to 50, possibly 100 and 150, but more than likely they're going to want you to take out a term loan. Banks don't technically do unsecured lines of credits because there's no collateral and they can't come after you per se. And then also on the line of credit side, the bank doesn't make any money on that, and that's really what it comes down to. A term loan, they make money on you monthly. A line of credit, they may make money on you every 3 to 6 months. Hopefully that answers your question.
Definitely a good answer on that. Much better than I could have done. I appreciate that you taking that one, Scott. Can you briefly you hit on this in your answer, but can you go over the difference between unsecured capital and secured capital and why that's important for business owners to know? I think this is a really, really good question that came in.
Yes. So unsecured capital is only secured. So if you're starting out, it's only based on your personal credit score, your personal not even your net worth, just your credit, based on your social security number and your credit score. That's unsecured credit. And then if you're in business, so unsecured credit, the way you can get that, like I mentioned it through credit cards and lines of credit. So that's unsecured credit. Secured credit would be there's 2 forms of secured credit. There's something called a UCC, which is Universal Commercial Code. It's like a blanketed lien. So if you're sitting in your room right now or in your office and you wanted to open a business and that's where you reside, your assets would be like your table, your chair, your computer, your desktop, your the floor, everything. If that maybe has a value of $25,000, but you want to get a loan for $100,000, there's some lenders that will do an unsecured blanketed lien on all your business assets, even if it's not a 1-to-1 ratio, and then all your so that you can do a $100,000 loan even though you only own $25,000 worth of asset. Some people would say that's an unsecured loan because they're not taking equipment, they're not taking your house, they're not taking a boat or something like that. But secured credit for a business would be like they're going to do real estate, They're going to take your equipment, maybe some of your accounts receivables, that's where security comes in. And most banks, most of the time, if they're doing an SBA loan and you own a house, but you're trying to get a business loan, they're still going to ask you to secure your house, and that would be using secured capital, secured working capital, or secured capital.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Okay, so we have somebody who wants us both to come to the South, apparently. Why no offices in the South for SBM? Which, by the way, I would absolutely love to come to New Orleans. Scott, you game for that?
Yeah, definitely. Let's go.
A small business majority is looking at expanding down into some southern states. Like I said, we are grant funded, so a lot of our locations are based on where we can find grant funding. And so Georgia is a high priority state for us. We've been doing a lot of work in that state already. So finding the right person to open up that office has been a priority for us. We do have one staff person who has came down to New Orleans on multiple occasions to work with legislation that was being passed there. Be happy to put you in contact with Eric. He's actually based out of our Washington, D.C. office, but he basically covers all the southern states. Now, as for the small business development centers, you're going to have some in your area, as well as the CDFIs and SBA offices. So highly encourage you to find out what local resources are there. Scott, you said how many regions? Can you go over those numbers again? They were astronomical.
Yeah, so there's 63 state regions. There's 950 centers across the country. So almost 10 to 40 per state. But it looks like there's a Louisiana Small Business Development Center. So there is a lsbdc.org you can go to, but I don't know how many are in Louisiana or in that area. But for most states, there's about 10 centers for most states.
And those states normally, if they may be in a metropolis area, but they will work within the rural communities surrounding too. So if you're in a rural community and you're like, I don't have one here, go to the one closest to you. They work virtually. I mean, the internet is a wonderful thing. So definitely find the one closest to you, and they'll be able to help with that. And then let's end. We had one more. Can you tell us real quick the website to go to get that Form 413 again that you mentioned?
Yeah, it's sba.gov.
Okay. It flew by me real fast, and I thought that was what it was, but I didn't want to put it out there, but just to make sure. And SBA has an enormous amount of resources on their website as well, directly focused for small business and access to capital. So make sure you reach out to them. There were multiple questions we weren't able to get to today, but we are at our time. So we have recorded today's webinar. We'll send this link out so that you can watch this again or listen to this again, because we know you hopefully enjoyed it that much. Pick up any of that information you might have missed as we went through. We will send out the slide decks, and like I said, I'm here every other week. We're going to have Scott back on June 28th. So join us again. We look forward to having you all, and thanks, Scott, so much for coming on and presenting this information today. And thank you all for being here with us. Y'all have a great day.
Thank you.